Every U.S. president that had the privilege to sit in the Oval Office is a remarkable figure per se. There are some specific and interesting facts about each of these people that make them stand out among every other ordinary U.S. citizen. George Washington. He never served as president in Washington, D.C., the capital that was named for him. George Washington did not have wooden teeth, but did wear dentures made from ivory. John Adams. Thomas Jefferson and Adams were rivals for the presidency. When Adams won, Jefferson became vice president. His final words were, "Thomas Jefferson still survives." However, he did not know that Jefferson had died a few hours earlier. Thomas Jefferson. The U.S. Congress purchased Jefferson's book collection in order to help him get out of debt. Those 6,000 books became the start of the Library of Congress. Jefferson wrote his own epitaph on his tombstone. On it, he listed what he considered his major accomplishments. There was nothing about his presidency. Bad career choice, huh? James Madison. Madison and George Washington are the only presidents who signed the Constitution. Madison was related to both George Washington and Zachary Taylor. I guess presidency runs in the family. James Monroe. Monroe was the third president to die on the 4th of July. In the famous painting of George Washington crossing the Delaware, the soldier holding the flag is supposed to be Monroe. His daughter Maria was married in the White House. This was the first wedding at the White House. Very clever indeed. Why waste money on restaurants? John Quincy Adams. He predicted that if a civil war broke out, the president could use his powers to abolish slavery. This is exactly what Abraham Lincoln did with the Emancipation Proclamation. The election campaigns between Adams and Andrew Jackson were particularly ugly. Adams refused to attend Jackson's inauguration and was one of 3 presidents to not attend an inauguration of a successor. It's what happens when you're determined to win. Andrew Jackson. Jackson was in a number of gun duels. In one duel, he was shot in the chest first, but managed to stay standing and shoot and kill his opponent. The bullet remained in his chest for the next 40 years. Upon leaving the presidency, Jackson said he had 2 regrets, that he had been unable to shoot Henry Clay or to hang John C. Calhoun. Clay was a political rival while Calhoun was his first vice president who proved disloyal to Jackson. Quite a fierce fellow, don't you think? Martin Van Buren. The word OK became popular when it was used in Van Buren's campaign. It stood for one of his nicknames, Old Kinderhook. He lived longer than the next 4 presidents. William Henry Harrison, John Tyler, James K. Polk, and Zachary Taylor all died before Van Buren. Sturdy and vital, Van Buren showed them all who's the man in the house. William Henry Harrison. When William asked his future wife's father if he could marry his daughter, he refused. As a result, William and Anna eloped and got married in secret. All for love. William's grandson, Benjamin Harrison, became the 23rd president of the United States. When you have proper genes, the White House is your office for sure. John Tyler. Tyler liked big families. With his 2 wives, he fathered 15 children. Maybe he wanted to give the country future presidents. He was given the nickname His Accidency because he was not elected president and his rivals said he got to be president by accident. James K. Polk. By many historians, President Polk is considered to be one of the most important U.S. presidents in history. Polk added 1.2 million square miles of land to the United States. Thanks to him, we now have enough space for golf courts. Zachary Taylor. President James Madison was Taylor's second cousin. He was a descendant of William Brewster, a leader of the Pilgrims who first landed on Plymouth Rock and sailed to America on the Mayflower. Quite the patriot indeed. Millard Fillmore. Fillmore opposed President Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War. He protected the Hawaiian Islands from being taken over by France. When Napoleon III tried to annex the islands, Fillmore sent word that the U.S. would not allow it. Lucky for us, now we get to go to Hawaii on a summer vacation without a visa. Franklin Pierce. In the 1852 presidential elections, Pierce defeated General Winfield Scott, his commander from the Mexican-American War. He was the first president to put a Christmas tree in the White House. James Buchanan. Buchanan was the only president who never married. His niece, Harriet Lane, acted as the First Lady while he was in the White House. She became quite popular and was nicknamed the Democratic Queen. One of his goals was to buy Cuba from Spain, but he was never successful. Fidel Castro must have been so grateful for Buchanan's failure. Abraham Lincoln. Honest Abe was the tallest president at 6 feet 4 inches tall. On the day he was shot, Lincoln told his bodyguard that he had dreamt he would be assassinated. Maybe he was psychic. What do you think? Andrew Johnson. When he was buried, his body was wrapped in the United States flag and a copy of the Constitution was placed under his head. Johnson once suggested that God had Lincoln assassinated so he could become president. Oh my God. Ulysses S. Grant. Grant's real name was Hiram Ulysses Grant, but it was entered incorrectly as Ulysses S. Grant when he went to West Point. Since he was embarrassed by his real initials, H-U-G, he didn't tell anyone and ended up going by Ulysses S. Grant for the rest of his life. Rutherford B. Hayes. Hayes did not serve alcohol at the White House. His wife served lemonade instead, earning her the nickname Lemonade Lucy. The man obviously knew the value of vitamin C for the human body. He held the first Easter egg roll at the White House, which had become an annual tradition. Thank you, Hayes, for improving the White House menu. James A. Garfield. Because of Garfield's powerful voice and his ability at public speaking, he became known as the Preacher President. When he was shot, Garfield exclaimed, "Oh my God, what is this?" Alexander Graham Bell, the inventor of the telephone, tried to help locate the bullet with a metal detector that he had invented. Unfortunately, he was not successful. Damn you, Bell! Chester Arthur. Arthur liked to be fashionable and changed clothes for each occasion throughout the day. This earned him the nickname Elegant Arthur. He reportedly had over 80 pairs of pants. He auctioned off many priceless items that had been in the White House since the time of President John Adams. Wondering how much money did he make with that? Grover Cleveland. Rather than fight in the Civil War, he paid a man $150 to fight in his place. This was common in those days. Was he a coward? Not exactly, because when he was sheriff, Cleveland was also the town executioner and ended up having to personally hang murderers. Benjamin Harrison. Some people called him the human iceberg because he had such a stiff personality. His wife died while he was president. He later married her 25 years younger niece. Keep it in the family, huh? Harrison ran his campaign mostly from his home, where he would speak to crowds who gathered outside. At one point, they had 40,000 drummers visit him from surrounding states. That must have been a loud meeting. Grover Cleveland. Cleveland married 21-year-old Frances Folsom when he was president. He was the only president to be married in the White House. That must have been a party to remember. The Baby Ruth candy bar was named after Cleveland's daughter Ruth, and not the famous baseball player Babe Ruth. William McKinley. He was the first president to ride in an automobile. He even rode to the hospital in an ambulance after being shot. After he was shot, the crowd grabbed his assassin and began to beat him. McKinley yelled out, "Boys, don't let them hurt him." Theodore Roosevelt. At 42 years, he was the youngest man to hold the office for president due to the death of President McKinley. He didn't like the nickname Teddy, but preferred TR or Colonel. He was shot in 1912 while campaigning for president for the Bull Moose Party. He continued with his speech, stating that it takes more than that to kill a bull moose. Talk about a real tough guy. William Howard Taft. At 332 pounds, Taft was the heaviest president in history. After getting stuck in the White House bathtub, he had the standard-sized bathtub removed and a larger one installed. He once fell asleep during a parade where he was the main attraction. He was the first president to have a presidential car and the last to have a cow for fresh milk at the White House. Woodrow Wilson. Wilson's earliest memory as a child was hearing that Abraham Lincoln had been elected president and that war was coming. His face is on the $1,000 bill. Wilson is the only president buried in Washington, D.C., at the Washington National Cathedral, to be exact. He must have been very nostalgic. Warren G. Harding. Harding wore size 19 shoes, making his the largest feet of any U.S. president. When he was younger, he was known by the nickname Winnie. He liked to play poker and one time lost a set of White House china in a poker game. Good thing he didn't bet the Treasury. Calvin Coolidge. Coolidge is the only president to be born on Independence Day. Coolidge was not a fan of his successor, Herbert Hoover. He said of Hoover that for 6 years, that man has given me advice, and all of it bad. A man of few words until the end, his last will and testament was only 23 words long. Do you think he even mentioned his wife? Herbert Hoover. Hoover signed the congressional resolution that made the Star-Spangled Banner the national anthem of the United States. He did not accept his salary for president, but had it donated to charity. He was the first president to have a telephone sitting on his desk. Gotta keep up with technology. Franklin D. Roosevelt. President Theodore Roosevelt was Franklin's fifth cousin and uncle to his wife Eleanor. He was the first president to appear on television during a 1939 broadcast from the World's Fair. He met President Grover Cleveland when he was 5 years old. Cleveland said, "I am making a wish for you. It is that you may never become President of the United States." I guess some wishes don't come true, Grover. Harry S. Truman. Truman was the only president in the 1900s who did not attend college. The 1948 election against Thomas Dewey was very close. Many people were sure he would lose. One paper, the Chicago Tribune, was so sure that their headline read, "Dewey defeats Truman." Truman won, however. Whoops. Dwight D. Eisenhower. Eisenhower comes from the German word Eisenhower, which means iron miner. Dwight and his wife Mamie never owned a home until after he was president. Having a military career, they had moved 28 times and had never purchased a home. He considered racism to be a national security issue. John F. Kennedy. Kennedy was the youngest ever to be elected president. Bobby Kennedy, John's youngest brother, was one of his key advisors and headed up the Justice Department while John was president. Bobby later ran for president but was assassinated before the election. Everybody loved JFK. Lyndon B. Johnson. Johnson once said that education is not a problem, education is an opportunity. At 6 feet 3.5 inches, he was the second tallest president just after Abraham Lincoln, at 6 feet 4 inches. His wife's nickname, Lady Bird, gave them both the same initials, LBJ. They named their daughter so they would have the LBJ initials too. Interesting family tradition. Richard Nixon. Nixon was once offered the position of players' representative in Major League Baseball. He turned it down to continue in politics. President Gerald Ford pardoned Nixon of any crimes he may have committed. When he was still lying about the Watergate scandal, he made the famous comment, "I'm not a crook. I've earned everything I've got." What? General Ford. He nearly died in World War II when a typhoon hit his aircraft carrier and it caught fire. While a congressman, Gerald was a member of the Warren Commission, which investigated the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Ford was awarded the Profile and Courage Award from the John F. Kennedy Library Foundation in 2003 for his pardon of Nixon. Many people hated him for it, but he knew it was the right thing to do. Jimmy Carter. Carter was a speed reader and could read up to 2,000 words per minute. In response to the Soviet Union invading Afghanistan, he had the U.S. boycott the 1980 Summer Olympics. Carter has often criticized the policies of sitting presidents, something most ex-presidents have opted not to do. Ronald Reagan. When he was shot by an assassin in 1981, he joked, "I forgot to duck." As a young man, Ronald worked as a lifeguard where he rescued 77 people. He acted in over 50 major movies during his Hollywood career. Reagan was the oldest president in U.S. history. Do you think age gave him the wisdom to lead the country in the right direction? George Bush. As of 2011, George and his wife Barbara have been married for 66 years, the longest of any presidential couple. George celebrated his 85th birthday by going skydiving. In 1993, he was knighted by Queen Elizabeth II. He was the third American president to receive an honorary knighthood. Thank you, Lizzie. Bill Clinton. Clinton enjoys playing the saxophone and was a member of a band called the Blind Mice in high school. When he was a teenager, he got to meet and shake hands with President John F. Kennedy. His wife, Hillary Rodham Clinton, has been the U.S. Senator from New York and U.S. Secretary of State. We all know how much of a success her presidential campaign was. George W. Bush. Bush is the only president to have a Master of Business Administration degree. Little curious, George likes Mexican food and pralines and cream ice cream. He was nearly assassinated when a man threw a grenade at him in 2005. Fortunately, the grenade did not explode. Barack Obama. Obama has made good money from writing books. In 2009, he made $5.5 million. After working at a Baskin-Robbins as a teen, Barack no longer likes ice cream. While living in Indonesia, he got to eat some interesting items, including grasshoppers and snake meat. Yummy. Donald Trump. Donald Trump does not drink alcohol. He made this decision when his brother, Fred Jr., died from alcoholism. He is the first president without prior experience in the government or the military. While he won the presidency as a Republican, he was a registered Democrat between 2001 and 2009. I guess beliefs and standards change when it comes to a career in the White House.